Oh. Been a few days, huh guys? Been a few days. Been busy. Busy doing stuff. That's right. Oh, rucksack liner. All around dry bag. Although, you know, nothing is perfect, right? So, right now I've got a couple of winter hats in there. I'm wearing a winter hat. It is this is an Eddie Bauer brand flat cap with earmuff thingies that fold down, and but it's made with Harris tweed, so it has the Harris tweed trademark logo thing stitched inside there. It's hard to find any good Eddie Bauer stuff now. You know, it's kind of like L.L.Bean. L.L.Bean, so much modern stuff is crap. You know, I mean, it's just the way it is. The way it is. So, used to be you could go to L.L.Bean, Eddie Bauer, buy lots of good stuff. But nowadays, it's just not that way anymore. So, you either got to go, you know, vintage in excellent condition, or you just go to another brand, right? So, but this is not the hat video. The hat video will be probably the next video, because I'm gonna talk about this one, the flat cap, okay, not to be confused with the Gatsby, the Great Gatsby style newspaper boy cap, which is different. This one's one piece, and that one's got like 8 pieces, I think, to make the cap all together. So what have I been doing? I've been doing stuff with the field and getting ready to get, you know, all of my crops in and everything. That's what I've been doing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that sort of stuff in this video. Kind of like homesteading stuff. Well, first I'm going to start out with this can of sardines here. So I've got about $600 or $800 worth of canned goods that are just sardines and mackerel and smoked herring, okay, and you know, they're from Scandinavian countries. So, you know, the thing is very particular about seafood. Very particular. I want to know where it was caught. I want to know where it's processed and whatnot. You know, the thing about sardines is sardines are very low in mercury. Not like tuna. You can overeat tuna. So just be very aware of that. Don't eat too much tuna, because it's got, for some reason, they always high in mercury. Now, you know, do all your research, you know, on the brands. There's lots of seafood, tin seafood videos on YouTube. So, you know, I'm not going to recommend anything on this video as far as brands. You know, I want you to get on YouTube and research them, you know. But I will tell you this, you know, basically, stay with the extra virgin olive oil packed stuff, because you could always just rinse it off if you don't want that. But the better thing to do with that is to put it in something like rice and stir it up good, and then put your, you know, your your tin fish on top. Don't use a microwave. Microwaves destroy things that we don't want destroyed. If you're going to heat them up, you know, heat stuff in like a toaster oven or something like that, and then put it on your plate. Alright? So, I'm going to be eating this can of sardines before I go to work in a little bit. I'm going to be working outside there. I've yesterday, wait, no, the day before yesterday, I plowed and tilled the field, and that's ready. And anyway, so plowed and tilled the field. Over the years, I have had to overcome obstacles in my homesteading stuff. But we'll get into that in a few minutes. We're gonna stay on subject. So the thing that I see so much is people wanting to know the expiration date of canned goods. Or they say, oh, it's beyond its expiration, let me throw it away. Well, I could sit here and name off a few choice words for people like that, but let's just say that they're ignorant, because canned last practically forever. Canned goods, you don't have to worry about an expiration date, alright? You just don't. If it's hermetically sealed, no big dents or nothing like that, it will sit in a cool, dry, dark pantry for decades, ready to eat when you need it. Okay, this is one of the reasons why they made tinned goods. Is to, you know, it's just the way we do it in order to preserve stuff for when we need it, right? And they tin goods for wars, they tin goods for emergencies, all kinds of stuff. Now everybody's obsessed with meals refused by Ethiopians and things like that, right? So, the French still they put tin goods in ration packs for the military. That's right. So, you might find a can of sardines in a military ration pack. Still, the reason why is because it is a solid method. Okay? So do not be overly concerned with expiration dates on stuff. I mean, I just can't, right? I mean, the way some of these younger people are about canned goods and this expiration dates, I mean, come on, guys. You got to get over it. You got to know how stuff's made, right? Sugary things, they last forever. Sugar does not expire, by the way. It doesn't. There are some things that do not expire. Sugar doesn't expire. Salt doesn't expire. And so on. I mean, there's a lot of different things that really just don't expire. Okay? Canned goods almost don't expire. I'm telling you, they last a long time. I'm going to give you a quick story. I knew this guy. He was a salvage diver. Alright? Salvage. Now, I don't remember, it's been a long time ago. I don't remember the details of the story or what they were looking for or whatnot, but they were doing ship salvage on this vessel, and it had been in the water for like 40 years. That's right. You know this is a canned goods story. So, when they went down to look for whatever they were looking for, They found these tins of coffee, these cans of coffee that were still good as the day they went in the can. They checked them out underwater, put them in a ditty bag, and took them up. And guess what? They all agreed to have coffee because they were tins of coffee. And let me tell you, he said that when they opened that tin of coffee to brew it up, it was so good. It smelled so awesome. 40 years had only, aged it better, I guess, because he said that coffee was better than what they had. It's probably because it was, came from a plantation that had not been, poisoned with sprays and stuff. I don't know. And he didn't know either, but he just told me, he says, I've never had more delicious coffee than the coffee that I salvaged out of a ship that had been in the water for 40 years. So, yeah, that should tell you something, okay? It should tell you something. Now, what else was I gonna say? I was gonna say something else. You know how I am. I forget stuff in a heartbeat. But, don't be overly concerned about dates, especially on canned goods. You gotta look for damage, Is the can, is it compromised in any way? That's what you gotta look for. You don't have to worry about anything else. It's a proven method. It's proven. So, don't worry about it. Oh yeah, honey. Honey does not expire. Honey was found in a burial chamber of an Egyptian pharaoh. Still intact in the jar. Yep, that's right. Doesn't expire. It'll crystallize, granted, but all you got to do is heat it up in about 90-degree water and let it sit for a while, and it will reconstitute. Just stir it up. Yeah. So the thing is that we talk about food and cans and stuff like that, and people are obsessed anymore with expiration dates and stuff. Man, that stuff's still good. Don't throw that away. Don't throw it away. I had a friend of mine tell me not too long ago, he says, oh, I gave away these canned goods because they reached their expiration. And I was like, dude, you're older than I am, and you should know better. I hate to say that because he's probably watching. But, when I grew up, my parents kept 6 months worth of provision on hand. Not only for each of them, that was 6 months for dad, 6 months for mom, 6 months for each kid. Okay. That's right. They kept 6 months worth minimum on hand. That did not include the regular food that mom had for the week to cook up and serve us meals. That was store food. Storage. Right? That was storage food. And, they did not call it prepping back then. They did not call it survivalism back then. They called it life. Okay? They called it life. This is how we do stuff. Mom canned food. Dad kept the garden. Mom canned food. Okay? Shipped ball jars out the wazoo. It is what it is. You got to get back into the old school mentality, because before before things totally collapse, and I think that they will collapse. That's probably what brings on the revolt in 2 Thessalonians 2. Part of what it brings it on is things collapsing. Uh, could be. I do not know. I'm as I, it's a big question mark for me as well as everybody else, even quote unquote biblical scholars. We know 2 Thessalonians 2, it says, there's a quote unquote falling away. That's what it says in newer Bibles. It says there's going to be a falling away. But if you look at the root of that in the older translations, it says revolt. But first there will be revolt. Right. Falling away, revolt. But first there will be a revolt. So, I've talked about this ad nauseum, so I know, please bear with me, guys. But the thing is that you always have to be ready for that middle ground, in between. Okay, things are pretty much normal now, and then chaos, right? So you always just want to be ready for it to be chaos. You see what I'm saying? You just want to be ready. Don't get caught off guard, right? Don't get caught off guard. As a matter of fact, I was talking about dates. This can is from a Norwegian company. This has no expiration date on it. That's right. None. Wasn't on the package either. There was a package on the outside. It's no expiration date. Why? Because they're trying to get people to throw away food and waste stuff. In the United States, they're just trying to get people into this mindset. Oh, it's got an expiration date and it expired 2 days ago. This is expired. We better throw this away. They're trying to make people think like this. They're manipulating you. Don't let the government manipulate you so much, okay? Don't think like that. Oh man, this expired a year ago. I ate some stuff that was like supposedly expired 6 years ago here a while back, right here on the channel. I don't remember what it was, but the thing is that they're trying to control you. They're not going to control me. They're not. They ain't going to control me. I'm too headstrong. I've set that the government nowadays. I'm completely set that the government is against the people. I really am, and I know a lot of you guys are banging the drum on Trump and all that. But what has he really done for you? Has he restored any gun rights, or is he done anything for anybody? Is he done anything for you? Is the Lautenberg Amendment still in place, and the Gun Control Act of '68 and the Gun Control Act of '34? There's a couple of those gun control acts that are like concurrent. They run together. One doesn't abolish the other because maybe one has some different wording in it or whatever, so they keep it going. Anyway, all gun control and any infringement upon your rights is constitutionally illegal. Okay, so I would just say, do what your heart tells you to do, right? Through God, right? Listen to God and do what He says to do, right? If you think that you need a firearm for the near future, procure yourself one and hidey hole it till things go down. Then you're ready. Nobody needs a firearm, to be honest with you. Nobody needs one until you need one. That's true. When I was young, I had a lot of firearms. I did. Had lots of them. And, you know, and I would use them. I would use them in ways that people think, well, you're kind of nutty. Oh well, you know, I'm still here. Didn't let no jackholes bother me, you know, in life. I mean, I've had a long life, and I have had many careers, doing different things, and you know, lived in so many different places. Anyway, let's get back to the food, shall we? That's more or less what we're on about here. So anyway, the last thing I really want to say on canned goods is don't throw them away. You know, and if, look, I'm not kidding. Not kidding. Unless it's got a major dent, or you know, it's been compromised in some way, the lip is like damaged, maybe something got in, air or whatever got in, you know, you don't have to worry about botulism or anything like that if you got a nice secured can. Okay? Don't throw stuff away. Serious. Don't do it. No matter how many retards in the media tell you, oh, you gotta go by this date. I'll give you a date right now to go by, okay? I'll give you a date. I'll give you a date to go by so you don't have to worry about it ever again. So all of your good intact canned goods, they'll expire in about 40 years, okay? So, right. 2066, okay? So let's just go with the 2066 expiration date. Okay, let's do that. 2066 on all our canned goods that are nice in nice cans and intact right now. And you know what? If you do your canned goods with your pressure canner, okay, if you do your canned goods with your pressure canner correctly, using proper jars, lids, and whatnot, they should also last 30 to 40 years easy. That's right. As long as that seal hasn't been compromised, you don't have to worry about it. Now, speaking of canning, I use All American brand pressure canner. I got two of them, two big ones. And I can in both of them at the same time because it makes it faster, right? I use wide mouth ball jars. Some people have switched over to another brand called 4 jars. I don't know anything about them. I haven't had any issue with ball jars. I reuse my lids. I just gently, you know, take them off. And as long as they're nice and straight, they haven't been compromised or anything, I'll try to reuse it. If it doesn't take, you know, then I'll try it on another one. If it fails to take twice, then it goes in the trash. All right. But if you get into canning, get the pressure canner. Get you a toolkit of stuff like, you know, the jar lifter to extract it out of the boiling hot water. It's actually more than boiling. That's the nice thing about a pressure canner is you bring that temperature up to like 240. You know, boiling is 212, right? So you get that temperature up to around 240, you know, and just let it do its deal. You know, you got the little weight, right? The little weight there, you put it over the tit on the top lid there, and just follow the instructions. Ball, uh, Ball has a couple of different handbooks. Just follow the instructions. Find out what you want to do. Write the instructions down so that you don't get easily confused by all the mumbo jumbo in the book, and have the book flopping around here and there. Just get a clean sheet of paper and write down exactly what you're going to do, and then follow that. That makes it easier to be messing around with the book. Okay, use the book for instruction, but when you write it down, it also helps you to remember the steps. Okay, if you're new at doing it, it'll help you to remember the steps. I need to have something to help me remember everything, because it's, as you get older, you just forget stuff. Well, a lot of us do. Some 90-year-old, 100-year-old grandmother might not need nothing, because she's done it a million times. But, your average guy who's also changing oil on the truck, okay, he may need it. But we talk about canned goods we bought. Now we're talking a little bit about canned goods that we're doing ourselves. So you get yourself some tools, a magnetic stick, to deal with the lids that go on the jars. When you get done, let's say you pressure can some jars of stuff, and you lift them out and you wipe them down and everything, and then once you check the seals on them and everything, you want to put the screw part back on, but don't tighten it. All right, just put it on to where it's there. Just put it on, because you don't need a seal, because it has a seal. Okay, you don't need to tighten it. Just put it on to hold it in place, hold everything in place, and, etc. And then the heck. But you want all the little gizmos. You want to have the funnels to put stuff in the jars. You want to keep the plenty of paper towels on hand, and regular hand towels, because you want to get a good seal. You want to make sure that the jar's edge is dry. You put everything together, you wipe everything down, so on. Yeah. So it will seem intimidating to you at first, but after you've done it a few times, you'll be more relaxed. Okay, you'll be more relaxed. Just keep a timer on hand, a watch, whatever. Write down when it went in, when it comes out, that sort of thing. That way, if you do forget, you get busy doing something else, you got it right there on the paper, right? Yeah, so I went. My house is old, over 200 years old. It has what's called a butler's pantry. I don't have a butler. I'm my own butler. So anyway, it has what's called a butler's pantry, which comes off of the servants' quarters. Alright? Back in the day, houses like this, old, okay, it's not a huge house, but they had what they call the servants' quarters near the kitchen. So you go into the servants' quarters, and then there is a door that opens into a pantry. Now, what this was for is this is so that all the extra stuff would be kept in the quote-unquote butler's pantry, and it was easy for the person who was a servant to access without bothering the rest of the family. Okay. So that particular butler's pantry in this house downstairs there, it's not huge, you know. It's hard for me to move around in there because my shoulders are 2 feet wide, you know. But I went and I bought, a store went out of business, and it was like, you know, a family owned store, so that's kind of sad. But you know, they advertised, hey, we have gondola shelving. Gondola shelving is like the heavy steel stuff that you get in, like, you know, the supermarket. That you see, you know, you might see thousands of pounds of canned goods on, you know, these shelves. When you go up and down the aisle, those are gondola shelves. That's what they're called. Take note in case you want to put some in, which is what I did. I went and I bought enough of their gondola shelving to put in gondola shelving on two sides of the room from the floor to the ceiling. That's right. So I made sure that my first shelf was off of the floor. I got wood floors. These are all hardwood floors, planking. I made sure that there was enough room to put a ball jar with lid and contents underneath the very first shelf. So there's enough room for that on the floor. And then I did the same thing for every other shelf. Made sure there's plenty of room, you know. And then I think the very top shelves, I left them, like, you know, a good distance from the ceiling, maybe like 1.5 feet from the ceiling, maybe 18 inches, 24 inches, somewhere in there. So I could put larger things, like a 5-gallon bucket of grain or whatever up there, right? So, and then you'll say, why didn't you put the 5-gallon bucket of grain on the floor? Well, yeah, but, you know, how many 5-gallon buckets are you going to have of grain? You know, I put the 5-gallon bucket of grain on the top shelf, because that right there is a backup item. You know, if I need to grow wheat or whatever. So I put that up there, stacked other stuff up there, put other types of long-term storage food that I came across, like, you know, military rations and whatnot up there. Yeah. Anyway. Ye old butler's pantry. Yeah. For those highfalutin people from the 1700s and 1800s. So, butler's pantry. Well, that's what they call it anyway. But back then, you know, they had servants. Back then, a penny was probably worth about $5. Now, I mean, you know, inflation has killed this country. Yeah, your dollars ain't worth nothing. So you got to have a lot of them in order to make up for the inflation part. Well, we only got about 5.5 minutes left, so I'm going to talk a little bit about this garden stuff, right? So this is a quote unquote artist rendition on paper. Use mechanical pencil and draw it, right? So anyway, what do I got on here? I got watermelon, cantaloupe. That's a small area in the corner of the field. Then I'm going to have a section of corn, probably about half of that will be sweet corn, and then the other half will be for milling to make flour. And then I'm going to have a section that's a little bit shaded. It's kind of gets more shade than the rest of the field. I'm going to put my pumpkins in there. I'm going to have New England pumpkins, Connecticut pumpkins, and giant pumpkins. And I plant them. I don't plant them all over that section. No, I don't do that. What I do is I have an area that I water that. Okay, I water where the seeds are going. And then as the pumpkin vines grow, I just stretch them out in their designated area and let the pumpkins grow off the vine, you see. So it's not like I'm making a row and having a gazillion vines come out. No, I'm having at the front of the planting area. How should I say this? Well, look, let's say that this is where the pumpkins are going to grow, where old Vlad is here. So the thing is that this may be where I got access to that area where maybe my garden hose only reaches right here. I'm going to plant all the seeds here at the beginning of this area. And then when those start growing vines, I just stretch those vines out this way. You see what I'm saying? That way I don't have to water all of that dirt over there. I just got to water down here where the vines are started. That keeps me from watering potential weeds as well. You see? So just keep the water out of here and only water where the vines grow out. You see? And I got them planted. I'm going to have them planted to where the smaller pumpkins face the sun and the bigger pumpkins are in the back. You see what I'm saying? So that way, yeah. So that way, and it gives me a visual. Okay, the little ones are up here, the middle ones are there, and then the big ones are in the back. I let the Big Macs giant pumpkins grow to about 100 pounds before I take them out. Now, a few years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I used to process those things all the way down into pumpkin powder. Man, this is a lot of work to process pumpkins if you're going to make them into pumpkin powder. But what pumpkin powder is good for is making a pie, off season. Right? Make a pie off season, use pumpkin powder. Real pumpkin powder. So what I would do is bake them, cut the pumpkin up, take the seeds out, save the seeds, bake large chunks of pumpkin in the oven, take them out, scrape them with an ice cream scooper to get all of the inner meat, the meat of the pumpkin out. Dry it. Oh yeah, you gotta puree it first. Lay it on sheets, put it in your dehydrator, and then turn it into a powder after it's all completely dry. This is a process, let me tell you, it's not an easy one. Takes a while. It's good to have, you could have pumpkin pie out the wazoo easy in a very small space in your pantry. You could have enough pumpkin powder in there for, years of pumpkin pies if you wanted. Alright, just remember that. That's another thing, dehydrator. Excalibur brand dehydrator. It's an excellent product. I've got one. I'm already out of time. Bought it years ago. Many years ago. I have used it so much. It's still just going strong. Excalibur brand dehydrator. It's got 9 shelves. I mean, probably you could buy bigger ones now. But mine's all mechanical. No electronic crap. Try to find mechanical if you can. I don't know if you can find anything mechanical anymore. But yeah, so I'm gonna have all this stuff in different areas of the fenced in field. And I'm bringing in, I've got 6 kiddie pools. So you know those little plastic kiddie pools that you buy to let your kids play in the summertime and fill it full of water? I drill the bottoms of those things full of holes. What I do is I put down pallets. Okay, you put down pallets first, 1 pallet for each kiddie pool. And then you put expanded, the hell they call it, expanded metal, or you put, what's best is hardware cloth. They call it hardware cloth, but it's basically it's metal mesh about 1/8 of an inch square. If you go to some place, your hardware store, and you say hardware cloth, they'll know what you're talking about. Anyway, it protects the bottoms of the pool. So you're going to drill about 100 holes, 1/2 inch holes in the bottom of those kiddie pools. Fill them full of dirt. Now, you put the pallet, you put hardware cloth over the whole top of it using a heavy duty construction stapler, like T50 or whatever you call it. You staple it all down on there. Then put the kiddie pool on top. Fill it full of organic dirt. Then plant whatever you're going to plant in there, and then you're going to fill the top of that with ghost pepper. Dust the whole top of it with ghost pepper. That's right. Ghost pepper powder. Or cayenne pepper powder. Either one's good. It keeps stuff from digging in your dirt, looking for your seeds, looking for your bulbs, whatnot. Right? So, yeah, those are going in. My potato pots are going in. So I take 5-gallon pots or 5-gallon buckets, and I drill holes in the bottom of them, and I put a bit of hardware cloth, in the bottom so nothing come in the holes, and put organic dirt in there. The thing is too is I use worm poop for fertilizer. So worm poop, they call them worm castings or castings. You can find the organic stuff at the store. And put that in there. Pretend you're a baker and mix it all up with an auger on your drill. Then, put your seed potatoes in there. And then set it in an area. Right. I got beans, yellow wax beans, dragon tongue, red swan. I got all those types of beans. I got carrots, tomatoes, peppers, onions, cabbage. All the usual suspects, right? All the usual stuff. And you got to have everything fenced in. Otherwise, everything is going to have a field day with your field. Right? I had a woodchuck. One year, he met his demise. He tunneled in. And I found his hole. I filled it full of rocks. And But that was after I got him. I trapped him. So I put him in a body hold trap. Conibear. So I put that, I found a hole where he had tunneled in. And I said, man, the dude had decimated my crop. And so I was really hot. And I thought, well, I'm going to get this dude. So if I have to sit up, camoed out in the middle of the night, waiting for him in the morning, I'm going to get him. So I thought, well, I'm gonna put a trap. I couldn't get him. I could not get him any other way. So I even tried to have a heart trap. That did not work. It's too freaking smart. So I thought, well, smart only goes so far. You put a conibear on the opening of that hole. He's either going to get him coming or going. And I got him going back into the hole because he was already in the garden, in the field, when I set the conibear at the hole. Because I didn't see him. I couldn't hear him rummaging around, eating my stuff. I couldn't see him. So I was like, well, I'm going to set this conibear. If he hasn't come out yet, he's going to come out to a surprise. So anyway, he was already in the dang field. I just didn't know where he was. Didn't hear him or see him. So I set that conibear, and lo and behold, I went out the back door, and he heard me shut the door. I mean, he's a pretty savvy character. He heard me shut the door, open and shut the door at the house. The field's to the side of the house. So his little ears are pretty good. He heard me, and he went to go back in the hole. They go back to over here, by another building where he had his house. Well, it was so, I hate to laugh, but it was pretty funny when I saw him. I mean, he was gone. Didn't suffer. But anyway, he heard me, and he went to dive into that hole. I mean, he was in mid-dive when the conibear got him. Boom. He was a goner. So, I mean, went into the garden, I saw the back half of this character sticking up in the air, and I was like, what? Yeah, that's what you get for eating all my freaking beans and stuff too, man. He stripped them all. He stripped every bush of every bean. Destroyed my corn. So much of my corn was destroyed. I mean, so many things were destroyed. Half-eaten pumpkins with just a hole in them where they decided they didn't like that one, went to another one. I mean, woodchuck, aka groundhog, will decimate your food. And I don't care what anybody says. Take them out. If you want to eat, and you don't want them eating all your stuff, take them out. It's just the way it is. Anyway, one gigantic field, right? One big old field. It boils down to this. That's right. So the next time you get organic seed and you whine because this packet says sell by 12/31/24. Okay, that's another thing I gotta gripe about is seeds. They found, as long as they're stored in a cool, dry place, you don't have to worry about it. They found 800-year-old seeds in a jar buried in the ground here a few years ago. They still grew stuff. Okay, 800 years in a jar in the ground. And they still grew stuff from those seeds. They thought, well, let's try to grow something with them. You know, they didn't use them all, but they used some. And now you can get those through Baker Creek, right? So this is Baker Creek here. Baker Creek heirloom seeds. These are beets, dark red beets. Anyway, how much were these? $3. $3 for all those. So don't cry. $3, but the thing is this heirloom, that seed that you can grow from. You know, you go to some places like Home Dump, okay, and any other big box store, okay, Lowrance, Home Dump, whatever, you know, those types of stores. I'm not going to say their real names. But if you go to some of those stores, you buy these Burpees and other crap brands. Those are not heirlooms. They're not organic. No, don't buy that crap. Get yourself some good ones. Johnny's and Baker Creek. Johnny Seeds. Yeah, that's right. Here in New England, we have Johnny's. And then we got Baker Creek down in Missouri. You know, they're all good. Just keep them in a cool, dry place. I probably got about 1 million seeds by now. That's right, because I'm a seed hoarder. Because one day, you may need something to eat. Right? Well, I think I'll leave it at that. Come back at you with a video and we'll talk about these hats a little bit. Okay? I'll see you there.